Well, thank you all for coming today. You're the last panel of the day for me. I appreciate your time. I know you're either in school or at work or both, so we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us and our participants today and the ones that will watch after the after today. So I got to know you a little bit, just briefly, before the meeting here. But if you could go around, I'm going to have you introduce yourselves and tell us what your current role is, your job, what industry you're in, and something a little bit fun about yourself, a fun fact. So let's start with Christian.
Thanks so much for having me join here today. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Christian Reese. I am the executive director of a nonpartisan political advocacy coalition here in Western Colorado that is tasked with elevating the voice of the rural region of the state on issues pertinent to our area at the state and federal level. So we work on a lot of policy issues, legislation, those sorts of things. I'm in limbo. I finished up my online MBA with the Auburn University Harvard College of Business just a few weeks ago and graduate here in August. I had a 12-year gap in between my bachelor's degree and starting my master's degree. So that was a fun thing to try to overcome getting back into schooling, but it's been extremely enjoyable. A fun little fact about me is that I have a South American parrot named Rico Suave that was my COVID pet, and he occupies my thoughts more often than he should.
That's funny. Meg, how about you? Tell us about yourself.
Hi, thank you, Heather, and thank you so much to Poets and Quants for including me today. I'm a first year student at UNC Chapel Hill, Keenan Flagler. I have had a long career in media, so I've actually had a much longer break than Christian between my undergraduate and the pursuit of my graduate degree, which has been really interesting to be back in school again after so many years. I'm not going to tell you how many. And I'm the managing director of One Grand Books, which is a small town bookstore that we are turning into a global brand. We're launching a podcast. We just launched a literary journal. And I'm bringing all of the skills I learned from many years of being a managing editor and an editor-in-chief of several national and international titles. And a fun fact about me, I used to live in Japan where I practiced competitive karaoke.
Oh, these are surprising. Great. Well, Jeffrey, hello. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Heather. Hi, my name is Jeffrey Bruns, and I am representing Questrom School of Business from Boston University. And I too am in the middle of the program, so I'm about halfway in. My career has been in software IT, and it has been, I'm going to follow along with Meg, and I'm not going to share how long it's been since my undergrad, but it's been a while. Right now, I am a program manager for a global software company, and I lead a team of folks to help clients onboard to our cloud platform. So that's what I'm currently doing. A fun fact about myself is I'm originally from Seattle, but I reside in the Netherlands, just outside of Amsterdam, and I'm calling in today from France. So I'm a bit outside of Paris right now, working remotely. So, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. That is a fun fact. We've got some friends in Amsterdam, and I keep promising I'm going to go visit, but we're stuck. But so I'm glad that you're able to travel and move about right now.
Yeah.
So Travis, you're with us from Jack Welch Management Institute. Tell us more.
I am, yes. I'm an alumni of the program. Recently graduated not that long ago. Much like everybody on the call today, had a significant break between undergrad and going back for the MBA. Life got going there. I'm currently the director of sales for a global software IT company. I also own my own consulting and real estate holding company, and I sit on the board for 2 trade organizations. Fun fact about me, actually, before I went down the business path, I went to art school, and my life's goal is to earn enough money so I can afford to be a broke artist painting on the beach.
Oh, wow, that's great. I don't think any of us would believe any of you have had that much time off between your undergrad and your grad careers, by the way. So let's see if Anna is any different. Um, Anna, did you take a lot of time off between your undergrad and pursuing an online MBA at UMass?
So I don't know, it depends, everything's relative, but if 4 years is a long time, then it's a long time.
No, doesn't count. Okay.
Yeah, so my name is Anna, and I am in the UMass Isenberg School of Management program, about halfway through my MBA. And I started out in accounting. I was in accounting consulting at a Big Four for 3 years. And then I decided I wanted to switch, and I switched to lecturing at Boston College, which was my alma mater. And it was nice because I've been able to also teach online during COVID. And I started, I moved to Ukraine last year during the pandemic, got married. So that was my fun fact. And I'm learning my fourth language since my husband is Ukrainian.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what other languages do you speak?
Well, English, Russian, Vietnamese,
Wow,
and now it's Ukrainian. Which is,
right. Just another endeavor.
yeah.
Well, wonderful. And for people who are watching and joining us, two quick things. Number one, if you want to change the view, you can go to the right-hand corner and click on gallery or speaker view. We've been asked that before during these panels. So if you want to switch how you view this panel. Also, you can ask questions to the participants. I will just pop them in the chat box and I'll try to pick them up before we end in about 40 minutes. So great. So I'm going to start where I've been starting with the other panels, and that is because that's where our readers and participants seem to have, this question about full-time versus part-time, evening, weekend, online. Your programs are each a little bit different from the other. So I want to know if you considered a full-time program, and ultimately what led you to choose an online MBA, regardless of the program. But what was the deciding factor? Anna, let's start with you.
I think the biggest factor is flexibility, because a lot of people don't have like 2 years that they want to take out of their lives, depending where they are in their career. And in my case, I also wasn't sure I wanted to commit to actually technically going away for 2 years from like personal and other career things to do this MBA. So flexibility was the biggest number one factor for me.
And why did you want to get an MBA in the first place?
Well, so I'm a CPA, so that's what allows me to teach right now at the university level. But I know that going forward, if I want to stay in this area, then an MBA is helpful, especially like in business school. You don't have to be a PhD, but the MBA is definitely something that adds to, I guess, more experience, more knowledge, and just being able to be like relevant.
Yeah, it's great on the resume. It's great for communication. All the skills you need for advancement. Travis, what about you? Were you considering an online or a full-time program?
Actually, I wasn't. I was looking for something that would allow me to still continue work and responsibilities and family life and all the usual stuff. I wasn't 22 years old rolling right into the MBA. So with that comes, some hurdles in life and some challenges to going full-time into an MBA unless you're in a situation where you can step aside and focus just on that. And for my situation, that really wasn't a possibility. I just had the family to take care of and to keep things going ahead. And one of the things, much like Anna mentioned, the flexibility of the online program, it really fit my schedule. My day job is typically 50, 60 hours a week and required a lot of travel around the world. So being able to say on any Tuesday or whatever, I would be able to be in class was quite challenging. My schedule is very dynamic. I'm never in one place at any time. It's not really a 9 to 5. So when I started doing research into the different program options out there and was looking at the online schools, seeing that asynchronous model that JWMI offered was very attractive because it kind of empowered me to take on class time, my learning, et cetera, around what I had to in the daytime. So if I needed to wake up early, I could. If I had to work at nights, work on the plane, all those kind of things became very tangible and real. So it really just empowered me to pursue my goal of the MBA while still handling all my responsibilities in the daytime.
So for you, the search was more about selecting the right program.
Yes,
for
ma'am.
what you needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jeffrey, for you, did you consider full-time or maybe even an international MBA?
Well, I didn't consider full-time, as stated by others, at this point in my career, taking 2 years off in the fast-moving industry of software IT is just, I think that would be more detrimental than than anything. So I was really looking for that flexibility to be able to travel as well, because well, I used to be very mobile in my job. Hopefully that returns, but the flexibility to log in at different points in the day and to fit my work schedule around it was critical. Also, I think the cost differential between the online programs versus the full-time is a big difference. So the idea of, I definitely was excited when Boston University presented this program. I definitely wouldn't have been able to participate if I needed to move to Boston. So I need to remain where I'm at and have that flexibility. So.
Great. And I think that too, this particular crowd, with all of you, most of you having a number of years of experience, let's say over 12 years of work experience,
Yeah.
Maybe a full-time MBA wasn't really considered as much. So I'm gonna just ask generally for Christian and Meg if that's also the case. If you just were looking for a part-time or a flexible MBA.
One of the things that really drove me to the Auburn Online MBA program was that it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be full-time, it could be part-time. You get 6 years to do it. And it runs, for the most part, concurrently with on-campus students. So they have high-tech classrooms that actually have full-time on-campus students in the room with cameras set up around the room. The desks are mic'd. So you're getting the exact same lecture that the folks in the room are getting, and you can watch it live or you can choose to watch it later if you want to. You can progress through the program at whatever pace you choose to. And that was really appealing to me, along with the program being one of the top nationally ranked programs in the country with the best affordability that I could find as well. So those are some of the factors that went into my selection of Auburn.
Great, thank you.
So for me, some of it is a matter of my life circumstance. I'm a mom of 3 children, and I'm also working full time. I have some flexibility with my job schedule, which is great. But I live in the burbs. I live in the New Jersey suburbs. So if I was to go, I could go to a local program, but they wouldn't have been a top 20 program in the nation, and I wanted a top 20 MBA. My other choices were to commute an hour each way, either to Wharton or to Stern. That didn't seem like it was going to be a realistic option for me. So I chose UNC because it was the number 1 online MBA, and they made the process very easy from the minute I called and started looking into what my options were. I looked into a couple of other programs, but this seemed to tick all the right boxes. It's structured. There's a lot of crossover between the full-time and executive MBA programs. They have summits that do require us for graduation to attend either in Chapel Hill or at an international destination. I really liked the alumni community. It's super active. So I immediately, as soon as I was accepted, was welcomed into all of these networking circles that I hadn't had before. And like Anna, a lot of my roots are in the Boston area because I went to Holy Cross for undergrad. And I wanted to be in a different geographical location. Through professional contacts, I have a lot of, New York I've got a lot of contacts in New York. I've got a lot of contacts in London. I don't have any in the Southeast. So I figured since it's a growing economic area, it would be a good idea for me to branch out my network. And it's worked beautifully because I've been meeting people I probably never would have met before. So that was a big factor for me.
Right. And that's been kind of common thread throughout the day too. It's just the diversity of the people that you meet in career, industry, age, everything. So we had somebody jump in with a question, and I love this question because it's something that I feel like everybody wants to ask and they don't. So the question is this: I'm going to read it to you, but I'm going to give you what I think too. So, have you faced any discrimination or when HR managers see that you have an online MBA on your resume? And so when readers will write us, we get questions all the time. And, actually I use UNC as an example. I'm like, hey, when you get an online MBA from Keenan Flagler, you get your MBA from UNC Keenan Flagler. It doesn't say you've earned an online MBA. And so I'm assuming that that's been your experience, where an MBA, if you're current, you already have that on your resume, right? That you're a candidate at a top-notch MBA program, or you're an alumni. So you've earned the certificate. So that's going to get you in the door. Has anybody even asked you the method of delivery? Right? Look at all those big notes. Nope.
I would say those days are past. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, there was a stigma to the online MBA. Now we see every school offering it, even the Ivies have some form of online delivery. It's an accepted model in a virtual world. Technology has driven us in a new direction. People are digesting information in new ways, taking classes in new ways. It's just the way of the new world. And like you mentioned, it's not even asked by HR. I mean, when you're coming through, they just want to see you have a quality program and you have the knowledge base.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing that you have when you go through a program like this is that you have the ability to answer that question with elegance and, and feel, proud and help and educate somebody else on how things have changed. So that's good. So thank you, Akansha, for asking that question. And I would encourage anybody else who has really direct questions, this is your chance to talk to these guys. So since we're on careers and most of you are, career oriented parents, I think, and this might be, with the age range that we're talking about here, maybe you did pursue an online MBA for career development. Although Travis, I'm not sure that your industry, you needed to get an MBA. So outside of work and professional experience, I mean, did you find your online MBA, or are you finding it to offer soft skills and personal development? And
Yeah.
was that a factor in getting an MBA at all?
Absolutely. I think in a lot of ways, I found my MBA journey transformational, not only because of what you're learning on the content and the knowledge and the case studies and the business acumen, but what you're learning about people, what you're learning about leadership, what you're learning about interacting with those around you and negotiation and dynamics. There's a lot that comes into play there. So while the credentials of an MBA weren't necessary for my trajectory in sales, so to speak, it has certainly helped me advance in leadership. It has helped me obtain several promotions. So that has definitely been a benefit to the career. But it's more the knowledge base, having the confidence when you're in the room, speaking to C-suite. A lot of what I do is going into executive boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies and talking about their product and the software solutions. So having the confidence to be able to understand their business cases, understand the conflicts that they're having, what they're trying to solve, and then relate that back in business terminology that makes sense to them, that they care about, and being able to position products that way and helping to form and solve problems in a needs-based scenario that matters to them has been immensely impactful for my career.
That's great. And so you've seen that during, I would assume, during the program and after the program. And then for let's see, Christian, you're just about to graduate. Were you able to use some of the things that you were learning at school or during your program immediately?
Absolutely. Every day. From my first course that I started with was marketing. And I immediately started implementing some of the things that we were learning during that course into the nonprofit that I run. When I took finance, I was taking a deeper dive into our monthly financial statements and asking different questions than I have asked in the past. I think to Travis's point, yes, the MBA program, regardless of where you go, turns you into a better business professional, but I also think that it helps you to view things more holistically, more big picture, understand how different parts and pieces fit into the whole, and understand their role, their place, their value. It really, to me, it was also transformational. When I took my last exam, I was very emotional. I didn't want it to be over because it was so much fun. It was such a great challenge. I learned so much. And it's sad to have that chapter close, but and I think I see Travis agreeing and some others. If Auburn would give me a free MBA, I would do it all over again. So I think there's a lot of personal and professional growth that comes when you enter into any one of these programs.
Thank you. Anna, for you, because you do seem very career oriented and you want to do specific things with it. Have you also found that you're developing these sort of of course, you're going to be developing leadership skills in the MBA program, but is there anything particularly surprising so far for you?
I think it's just because maybe I've had my bachelor degree years a little, I guess more recently, I can kind of compare it to the MBA. And I think one of the things that Travis mentioned is confidence. So like being able to be in the MBA and have some already professional experience under your belt, you kind of feel more confident doing your MBA. But at the same time, it opens your horizons because you're outside of your normal, I guess, working environment, because you're talking to people who aren't necessarily in your industry. You're having discussions with them, people who are like from different, something completely different. Like a lot of my classmates are doctors or like in the medical field. Like I'm completely not doctor medical field. There's some people who are also like engineers or computer science people. So that kind of like first having that confidence and then being put into an environment where there's more different people than what you're used to working with. I guess that combination is a nice, pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Well, Jeffrey, for you, in IT, and you're almost at the end of your program. I guess you're halfway there.
Yep.
You don't strike me as your sort of typical IT guy. Do you think has an MBA rounded you out, or have you always been also, more of a people person too? Not to give into those stereotypes, but I just did.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I do kind of the program management, so a bit of the quarterbacking and um, uh, the I think what the program has allowed me to do is step out of more of the kind of the technical certification realm. I kind of hit a wall there where I was doing kind of all of the industry standard certifications, and what the MBA program has brought is, it's really made me look at. You were talking, how has it affected you personally as well? I mean, it's really forcing me to look at what I value, and how I interact with people and how intentional I am, both personally and professionally. So those are things I use now on a daily basis. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting to dive so much into the relationship management aspect of it, but that's currently where I'm at. So it's at the top of my head right now.
That's great. Well, we said, we say all the time that, at Poets and Quants, we really believe that an MBA is, it's a truly transformative degree. And my particular feeling about it is that whatever it does, it helps bring more you to the world. So, in Tom and Jerry, we grew up on Tom and Jerry, and I give this analogy all the time with my kids. And sometimes when Jerry's running from Tommy, he creates a little upside down you, but sometimes when he doesn't have enough, and he opens the door and he goes through, but sometimes when he doesn't have enough time, he just busts right through the wall and makes this mouse-shaped hole. And I feel like a really great experience in an MBA will help you sort of bring that impact to the world. You'll make a Christian, a Meg, Jeffrey, Travis, Anna shaped hole into, the world. And it seems like what we're hearing today, or what I'm hearing from these panels, is that really the online MBA is delivering that to students as well.
What I'd love to add to that, if I may, is coming from a creative background and a humanities background. I studied English and history undergrad. I was very intimidated, especially when UNC was recently designated as a STEM degree. The MBA program was designated as a STEM degree. And that was very surprising to me because I had never taken those heavy quant classes before, maybe unlike Jeffrey or Anna, with your backgrounds. But there are a lot of people like me in the program. There are people coming from the arts. There are people coming from all walks of all different professions, all different backgrounds, as well as those heavy quant backgrounds. So I would just encourage people not to be intimidated by that. At least my experience has been, while the professors don't hold your hand necessarily, they're really cheering for you from the sidelines and are going to give you all of the resources that you need to succeed. And as long as you can dedicate the time and the effort into studying and finding your study groups, you can get through it.
So thanks for bringing that up, Meg, because you talked about professors and access, and that's something that I hear questioned a lot too. Were you able to easily access the faculty and your peers, or are you?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Our classes, I don't know how it works at the other programs. Ours are limited, I believe, to 18. My professors, most of them have a 24-hour policy where they will email you back within 24 hours. I had a problem with something over Mother's Day weekend, and my professor emailed me back that Sunday morning. And that professor has 11 children of his own, so I was very thankful for his time. They're very responsive and accessible, and I've built relationships with them now. So that's such a great bonus, as well as the students that I'm meeting, to have that relationships with the professors. They welcome you to connect on LinkedIn, and it's been wonderful to get to know them. And you do, even though it is online and it's remote, you really do build relationships and get to know people as if you were right there. It's been a wonderful experience that way.
Great, thank you. Christian, how about at Auburn? Same experience?
Yeah, our professors are extremely responsive within a day or so, just like Meg was mentioning. And I think one of the things that I found most surprising was, I thought when I was going to do an online program, I'd be doing it essentially alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be me in my office, working away on it. And I was blown away by how almost every class had a group project, which, depending on your group, could be the bane of your existence or an extremely enjoyable process. And I had a couple of both, but some of the relationships, I still text message these people constantly to see how they're doing. A friend in Utah reached out and said he was having a problem at work that he wanted to talk through with somebody. And it is surprising how close these relationships can get through an online platform, both with your peers in the program, but also with your instructors.
Yeah. And I suppose it has something to do with too that, you're all juggling this, not the same necessarily, but a large amount of work in your your life away from school, within the program itself. And so, you're in the same boat together. So Jeffrey, how about accessibility to professors, networking, classmates, feeling connected?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So at Questrom, each module that we've had has definitely that group experience. And I agree with Christian. The experience can depend on at different times. But that's the great challenge, right? And it does reflect the work environment. The level of engagement that I've found from other students at Questrom is been very surprising. So my initial thought was, it would be like another certification where I would look at some PowerPoint decks and take a few tests and be done with it. It's definitely not that. It's very engaging. So we have live lecture where we interact with the professor, and we have team meetings, team deliverables. We also have a group of learning facilitators, what they call, and they're basically gurus in the business industry that support us through assignments and are there to assist us as needed. So that support structure has been really helpful, especially when we've run into some tough topics like finance. So Anna, I'm a little jealous. That probably was a lot easier for you than it was for me, because it was like learning another language. So that was quite interesting.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Travis, slightly different for you because you've been out now for almost 4 years. Well, it's 3.5 years you completed.
Yeah, about 3 years ago, I completed the program. I would say that it's funny because I'm hearing the same perceptions that we all had going into an online program, that we were all going to be remotely isolated in our offices, working on a computer by ourselves in silo. And I think we can all say that regardless of the program, that was the furthest thing from the truth. We actually found, from what I'm hearing, and I know myself, had a ton of engagement. At JWMI, we are rated #1 for our professors for a very good reason. Their availability is unlike anything I've ever had in any of my other undergrad degrees. Not only are you getting the interaction with them in the coursework setting, but they're getting your emails, you have their phone numbers, you're able to call them at any time and to walk through issues or problems that you have. And also the professors really look at themselves as not only helping you with success in the class, but success in life, because they really do want to get to know you. What are your goals? What is success for you? Is it career trajectory? Is it starting a company? Why are you pursuing the MBA? And then work with you to make sure that the information in that each and every course is applicable to you and you're getting the most out of it to help you on that trajectory. So it's been fantastic. And as far as the networking side of things, it's been great. At JWMI, we have a lot of different ways to get together. And I'm sure a lot of people here will say the same at their schools. We have our virtual global networking sessions where we get together all over the world. So that's a way to unite thousands of students and alumni every single quarter and just have casual conversations and those type of things. And we also have our ambassador programs in all of our hub cities, over 50 of them around the world, that do boots on ground activities. So drinks after work, coffee before, get together for lunches, picnics in certain areas, whatever makes sense in that geographic area. So you're getting your interactions with the class in each and every single time, and we're not cohorted. So although much like Meg said, our class size is limited to only about 18, 19 people, it's very small and intimate. You get to know them well, but it's different each time around. But then you're able to tap into the greater network as a whole and get to know people from all over the world, form connections, build out your networking with that, and also have real life experiences face-to-face with people. COVID kind of put a limit to that for a while, but we're finally getting out of that and getting things back in. So it's just a chance to interact on a face-to-face matter as well. So there's a lot of ways to build out your black book, so to speak, and your network at any of these MBA programs. You'll be surprised at how much you're going to get out of that.
That's great. Well, guys, we have about 12 minutes left. I've got another question from the audience, and I want to ask that too. But one thing before I do that is I feel like, and I don't remember, so but I'm almost positive that all of your school's faculty for your online MBA is strictly online MBA faculty. So meaning they don't take from the full-time faculty that's sort of cameo as online MBA. And I think that I know some schools that do that. And I know that because we do a ranking, we do an online MBA ranking, and we ask that question. And I think that the availability of the professors, the engagement, the 24-hour policy, that has to be a result of managing that, the time. And I just think that would be an interesting question for applicants to find out, if you're not studying or reading rankings about about schools as they're looking, but having that ability to contact a professor and get help, or say, hey, look, I'm a working parent, I'm choosing an online MBA, I need this kind of access to you, or is that possible? So a little side crossed on bus there. And then I'm just going to jump to this question. It's kind of a work-life balance question, but really more directly, how many hours a week do you have to set aside for studying? And we know that most of you have families and relationships to manage. But with children, so you've got your work day, you've got your school day, then additional studying. How many hours a week do you spend, Anna, at Isenberg?
I think it would depend. Most full-time people, I think, take at least one class per semester, or that's a requirement in the Isenberg program to be continuously to be enrolled. I took 3 classes online last fall, and it was completely manageable. Maybe it helped because 2 of them I took with the same professor, like and economics. Like I knew how the professor worked, how his class was organized, and once I was really nervous, like for the first week or 2 to figure out how I'm going to do my schedule. But after that first week or 2, you kind of get into the rhythm and you figure out how it fits your schedule. So I managed it. The nice thing is everything's asynchronous. So some of them had like a pre-recorded online lectures, so you can watch those anytime, which is, again, like I was saying, the number one reason I chose the online MBA is flexibility, because it allowed me to do that. So I could set aside time. I knew that I had a midterm and a final, so I knew that for those 2 weeks of the semester I would have to like work around things, but everything else, it's once you set yourself a cadence, it's nothing you should worry about.
Great.
So let's just say 10 hours, maybe 10, 12 hours, usually they say per class. Yeah, but I think if it's like classes that are more like stats, like you have to just learn the material and get it done. So it's not going to be too like it's easier to manage because you know what you need to, like the logic. I don't know.
I think Christian disagrees. We think you're suited for that. Meg, what about for you with the kids? How many hours are you spending per week? And how are you managing to juggle being a mother of 3?
Yeah, well, my husband has already been to graduate school, so it helped that he kind of understood what I was about to take on. I think he knew actually better than I did, so he definitely had to take over some of the responsibilities around the house, which was very, very helpful. I would say I agree with Anna about 10 to 12 hours per class. Because quants are more difficult for me, I try to take them in isolation. So I will take 2 analytical courses and 1 quant, or maybe 1 quant and an analytical. I won't take 2 quants together, just because I do need to spend a little bit more time on those, the opposite of Anna. So I actually maybe spend more like 15 or 16 hours a week on those classes, but that's just me. I haven't taken a math class since I was in high school, so I need that extra time. At UNC, we have 3 years to complete the course, and we do have synchronous sessions as well. So for each class, you have a few hours of asynchronous work that you do, videos that you watch, in addition to doing asynchronous work on your own. And then we do have mandatory synchronous sessions, 1 per week for each class. They do give you some flexibility. You might be able to switch them a couple of times, but it actually is quite strict. They do expect you to show up. It's live with all of your classmates, and I'm really glad to have that structure. I need that structure personally, at least a little bit of it, to keep me on task and to also keep me accountable for everything. If I know I'm going to have an answer for my professor, I better be prepared. So I look forward to those synchronous sessions.
Great. Christian, just roughly, and how many hours a week did you spend at Auburn?
I would say the same as Meg. For some of those classes that were a little more difficult, I spent more time. Quant was one that was challenging. Finance was challenging. I took a multinational financial management course. That one took a little extra time. But I was also given the advice to pair up a quantitative class with an analytical or a less quantitatively intense course, which I did, and I'm glad that I did. For Auburn, we have lectures every day. So if you're taking 2 classes, that means you're going to probably have 2 classes every day. So, and some courses were 3 days a week, but some of them were every day and they were just shortened. So what I would recommend is breaking out at least 2 hours every single day, Monday through Friday, to do your lectures. I spent my weekends reading for the next week, getting prepared for the next week, and working on team projects on the weekends. But if you carve out a little bit of time every single day to work on it, which is more manageable than you might imagine it to be, it really fits in easily, even if you don't think you have time to do it. I promise you, you do. We had people who would wake up an hour early and spend an hour in the mornings working on their school before they go to work or before the kids woke up, an hour between when they got home from work and when they had to make dinner. It really is manageable, but you have to do it and break it down into little chunks so that it doesn't all pile up on you and then you find yourself panicking to try to get it all in.
So really, it comes back to priorities, values. It's doable, and Travis and Jeffrey, I'm guessing that you're going to tell us about the same thing: 10 to 15 hours a week of work.
Absolutely. Per class, JWMI is on a 12-course model, and you can take 1 or 2 classes per quarter. So 10 hours if you're doing 1, 20 if you're doing 2. And like Christina just mentioned, carving out those hours is very flexible. The asynchronous model, you can do it morning, evening, night, lunch breaks, whatever. So carving out that time in a week is very, very manageable, even if you're a busy professional with children.
Yeah, at BU, I would say that my sweet spot has been about 15 hours. It's pushed to 20 when we've done some of the finance and accounting, which is, as I mentioned, a bit of a challenge. We actually the curriculum is an integrated curriculum, so there are 6 different modules, and within those modules, the week is structured in 3 different phases. So for folks like me that can get easily distracted or procrastinate, those different phases within the week keep me on pace, so that it's not a deep dive on the weekend where I lose access, or my family loses access to me. So it's good that way.
That's great. Well, thank you. Thanks for answering that, guys, and for your time today. So we've got 4 minutes left, and I know you prepared an answer for this question, and I don't know what we're going to get, but sometimes it's similar. Sometimes we just get some surprises. So, all right. So the last question is going to be, what is your biggest piece of advice to future applicants? And so if you could just just give us your quick, the quick and dirty, Christian, what's your biggest piece of advice?
Keep your head up. This journey will knock you down. It will may make you question the things you thought you knew, may force you to grow in ways that may be uncomfortable. There are times where you may be watching a lecture with a glass of wine or some other adult beverage in your hand just to get through the week. And, my advice is just keep pushing, because when you finish it and you take that final test, it is absolutely gratifying to know that you've accomplished this incredible milestone in your life and that you are going to be poised to be so much more successful in your future. So just keep going and don't stop.
Thank you. Haven't heard that one today. Thank you, Christian. Meg, your biggest piece of advice?
My advice would be to do it and do it now. Don't wait. I wish I did it 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I'm learning so much. It's been such a wonderful experience. And I think now that I'm studying economics, you get the biggest return on your investment if you have more years to use it. So I wish I had another lifetime to be able to use all of the skills that I'm learning now. So my advice would be to do it ASAP. Don't wait.
All right. I feel like you're talking to me. Anna?
I say the biggest thing is enjoy the process, because even as Christian said, it flies by. She wishes she was back at it. And I think just doing undergraduate school year, sometimes students got super stressful in undergrad, but in the MBA program, it doesn't matter that much. Everybody pretty much gets an A or B. So you just enjoy it, enjoy the connections, make friends, like make those networks, and just take it in.
Wow, you guys are giving some good advice. What a great panel. Jeffrey, what about from you? Biggest piece of advice?
Like Meg, I would say go for it. I put in my application the day after my 46th birthday. So I was like, are they going to let this old guy in? And in fact, the average work experience at Questrom is, I think, or the average age is 37. So I'm a little bit above that, but go for it. I wish I would have done it earlier. I wish online MBAs were available years ago. Also, I would suggest for folks that before you start your program, have the conversation with folks that, you know, this is something that you're going to dedicate your time to, and it's so important, and kind of rally that support around you, and that may relieve some of the pressure to go out and do things and when you need to be studying. I think that might be helpful.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Travis, comes down to you.
Well, I would have to echo a lot of what's been said. Enjoy the journey, you know, keep your head up and go through it, but most importantly, don't put it off. It doesn't matter which one of these programs you choose. They're all fantastic MBAs. They are life transformational, and you're pursuing one of the most prestigious business degrees that there are that really will change the trajectory of your life, your ability to care for your family, and what tomorrow is going to look like for you. So you ask yourself, what's the cost of doing nothing? It's nothing. You're comfortable. It's going to be exactly as it is today. Tomorrow's going to be just like today. But if you want tomorrow to be different, put the process in motion to change it.
Wow. Well, I don't think we could have said it better. And I really appreciate your time. You guys have been informational and inspirational, and you gave us some good direct advice, and I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking this time with us today. And please keep in touch with Poets and Quants. And to everybody who's watching and who will watch, thank you for joining us. Please reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.
All the best, everybody. Take care and stay safe.